Okay. Sorry for the delay. We have had some slight technical issues and we will start again. So, welcome to our webinar. We will keep it short and concise. Obviously, aware that everyone is busy running their business and trying to stay afloat. We're going to have a look at how successful businesses are saving thousands of dollars during our crisis. Who are the speakers today? We have Boaz Keita, Tal Avni, and Priscilla Williams, as well as myself, Mariah Stock. And we're going to tell you a little bit about ourselves. So we are independent as part of the ACE group, which is created and has lots and lots of members, everyone from Fibonacci Coffee to Lava Jabiru, Cut Higher, Thora. There are dozens of cafes. A little bit about Boaz. Boaz Keita has always been heavily involved in hospitality, and him and his two brothers opened and ran a multitude of cafes over the years and realized that there was little available to support cafe owners. And so it was out of this that they created ACE and eventually Independent, with the goal of changing the coffee industry from the inside. Together with Tal and his expertise, his many years of experience as a cafe owner and manager, chef, barista trainer, and business development manager, they developed an outstanding team of experts. As I said, they opened dozens of cafes in the last 10 years and have been in the industry for over 20 years. ACE is backed by one of the biggest coffee roasters, dairy, and packaging companies in Australia with more than 50 years of experience. And they have built and run many models from small kiosks to licensed cafes to bars, which Priscilla has also been a part of. Team includes experts in operations, marketing, sales, lease negotiations, basically everything you could possibly need to have a successful cafe and maintain and run it. So we're really grateful to have these great experts here today. Today we're going to look at how to navigate the crisis, strategies to reduce costs and increase cash flow, available incentives and support mechanisms, and then we're going to have a Q&A with these industry experts. That's your opportunity to ask them questions that you really want to know. And throwing it over to Boaz.
Hey, good people, Boaz here. I love this caricature, technically it's my first time, but don't worry, I've read all the books, which reminds me that knowledge doesn't progress you, but action does. So what I'd like to encourage you is to take a couple of things that you learned today and put them in action today or over the weekend. That's the best thing we could do at the moment.
Before. So now we're going to go into how you should navigate the crisis, and Tal's going to give us some insights into that.
Okay, thank you, Mariah, for the introduction. So I guess what we really important to know during these times is you need to remember, like, we had a bit of an experience. Most of us already went through it, but it is an imposed change. Something came at us, and we need to cope with this. So just back of your mind, just remember that we're all going through that bell curve of being from shock to denial to blame other people, going from the worry and depression section all the way to relief, acceptance, and then we push into action. Some of us will do it in a second, some of us will do it in days, some people stay there for a very long time. And those people could be your staff, could be your suppliers, could be your customers, and could be family members. So just have it in the back of your mind that you want to go through that curve as fast as you can and help others to progress as well. And the minute you push through it, we had an event. We have something that change really make a difference or a change. Yeah, you can go back to the next slide, Mariah. And as a result of that, we cafe owners, there's a few scenarios. Some cafes suddenly, all the people migrate from the cities, for example, went into the regional areas, for example. They might experience a bit of a boom. They might feel, this greeting really, really busy. Other cafes, they had some sort of like a steady growth. Some cafes feel a decline and some have crisis. And one of the things we really like, when we guide cafes, we usually ask ourselves those questions: is where am I now? Where am I heading? Where do I want to be? And what is the strategy that will take me there? So obviously, based on where you are now, it will really make a difference on the actions you're about to take. So for example, if you're in the boom growth stage right now, your day-to-day focus is the strategies or the areas that you need to invest in is developing good systems of operation, systems for marketing, training your staff so you can actually ride that wave of growth. And you don't want at this stage start to figure out things yourself necessarily, or reinvent the wheel. You want to take ready-made tool, ride that wave that comes at you, so you can capitalize it as soon as you can. And we can definitely provide some tools and help you with that if this is where you're at. So this is if you're in the boom or growth stage. If you're on a decline stage, this is where mostly you're probably looking at how can I pivot? What can I do to cut my costs? And we're gonna let Boaz talk about it a bit later. How can you improve efficiencies while you still focus on increasing your revenue? We have a program, which is an accelerator program, when we're always looking at what are the driver of your business. So if you're at that stage, you always want to look at, okay, what is the driver of the business? From how do I bring more customers in? How do I improve my margin? And you want to do some fine tuning there. This is if you're in the decline stage. If sadly enough you're in the crisis mode, this is where you're basically fighting for survival. Your main goal right now is to buy time until you get over the hurdle, until that hiccup of your cash flow can come back again. And this is where your strategy will be to delay payment, will be to protect your assets, mostly to manage your cash flow, to make sure that you're avoiding, so you're not trading insolvent, so you protect yourself and things that you built till now. So at that stage, you're mostly going to proactively communicate with all your suppliers or landlord or staff. You proactively communicate with everyone, looking for solution, let them know where you're at. While you're doing that, you apply for any grants that you can, or defer any loan, basically looking, how can I take all the cash that I still have, manage it in a way that will allow me to get until grants kicks in, or until cash flow comes in, customer comes in, and you negotiate whatever you can. So this is pretty much what are the strategies that you need to look at. Really depends on which step of the business, stage of the business you're in, as a result of the impact of the crisis. I'll pass it both to you for strategies.
Awesome. So let's delve into where what we can actually do. Strategies to reduce cost and increase cash flow. So take stock of where you're at. So figure out what is it that you've got in terms of resources, in terms of cash, in terms of stock, and in how long you are able to survive or push forward and extend that period, and how long your resources will last you for, based on what you've got now. Then what you need to do is go and review things like the wage costs. So if you're still employing the same amount of people, then obviously you need to review them in line with your benchmark. So industry benchmarks are anywhere from 25 to 35. So if you've got a reduction in your turnover, then the reduction in labor cost needs to be in the same proportion. For instance, if you did $10,000 a week before and your wages were between 2.5 and 3.5, and your wages and your revenue is decreased to 5,000, then that needs to be adjusted, in this instance by half. That means that you possibly need to share the roster in a more equitable way between the staff, or they actually might be better off by being stood down for temporary on a temporary basis, so that they can access government grants that are available to employees, and you can reduce your wage costs and possibly give more hours to your key staff that you want to retain for the long term. Next thing we want to look at is ask for a rent reduction. So at the end of the presentation here, you will have a few email templates to landlords. We put it out through our network to all the cafes and already got up to 50% reduction in rent for this month, which again means that you don't have to pay the regular rent and means that you're preserving cash. If you don't ask, they will not volunteer. You know, some will, some won't, but if you don't ask, they definitely not won't. So asking is a good, they've got a vested interest in keeping you there and operational to for their amenity and other customers in the area. Next things to look at. Review, this is again, if you're quiet now and then you have time to invest in reviewing things that you might have been putting off, you know, through the group, we've got some fantastic access to deals in utility and insurance, but you can do it yourself. The advantage of being part of a group, of being a group, is that you have access to volume discount, and the discounts that one cafe can get versus 50 or 100 is very different. So this is a fantastic opportunity to look at what's out there. There's all these aggregate websites that help you do an assessment of the utilities, and some of them also in insurance. Let's move on to the next one. Now, at the moment, there's a lot of announcements and not very mechanisms to ask for these, but be persistent. So most of the major banks and lenders, not even the major ones, offer a variety of deferral anywhere from 1 month to 3 months. So we've already got approved for a 3 months deferral on some of our loans for the cafes and for the overall group. And that means that we're preserving cash. So let's say our expenses are $10,000, $20,000 a month on loans. If we can defer it for 3 months, that means that we're preserving up to $60,000 in the next 3 months. And that's, again, to enable you to buy time until things become clearer and you can access more grants and more cash and help build up the business again. Again, through the announcement, there was an indication that the banks would offer FPOS rental fees, refunds going back up to 3 months. Again, through a simple phone call with our bank, we've managed to get rental fee refunds for only 2 months in this case, across 7 cafes, which means, you know, it's another $500, $600, and that's from one simple phone call. And they were open to discussing more refunds in a month or 2. So the banks are there to help you. There is no incentive for them to make you suffer, but be persistent, ask questions, don't take no for an answer. Increasing cash flow. So increasing cash flow, I guess, is your next focus, and that can be done through a myriad of marketing activities predominantly. Okay, and access to grants and support mechanisms that Tal will cover. So, you know, in terms of marketing, the best way to look in marketing and find ideas around that is obviously, you know, come to us, and we'd love to have a deep dive with you and see what particularly your business can do to pivot quickly and offer anything from package to take-home packs. I'll give you an example. We had a cafe in the last lockdown that Lisa, what she did in Thornton is she took all the food she was making anyway, packaged for take-home meals, and she retained the same revenue level, so turnover didn't decrease. But what happened is, because she didn't need all the floor staff, the wage cost decreased and she actually made more profits. So that was very advantageous to her. Now, through this time, I'm sure that some of us are feeling lonely, and some of us require support, and this is what we're here for. And I guess what we need to make sure is that we keep on supporting. Sorry.
The little members of the family.
Yes, indeed. We're all working from home these days. You know how it is. The other thing is support your employees, especially the ones that you want to retain for the long term. What you need to meet here is you need to meet people on a human connection. So there's a bit of support, quite a bit of support coming through from the government, and we'll provide you links and access to that so that you can provide it to your employees. And again, This is about helping them through the crisis. As a leader of our organization, it's about keeping our organization strong for the long term. Marketing are covered. Trainership. So trainership is one specific ways that you can help reduce cost. There's either apprentices or trainerships, depend on the level of qualification that you have, or if you have qualified chefs, you possibly can take apprentices and trainership and get up to 50% of your wage cost paid by the government, up to about $56,000 over the next 2 years. That's a massive boon. I would encourage you to look into it, and again, we'll provide some information about that.
Cool. Before we start this, we're
Yes.
going to just...
Absolutely. Let's look at a short fun video, and I'll have some words about it after.
So,
Wonderful.
love that.
Yep.
So,
I guess you know, can you hear me? I mean, I'm a bit my internet's a bit slow, so can you hear me clearly?
yes, we can.
Yeah, excellent. So I love this video, and my kids love it too, because you know, I mean, in simple terms, it's together we are stronger. You know, and that's the message that what we're trying to put. Don't try and hack it out alone. There's help out there from government to associations and groups like us, and we would love to help you as part of a group or individual level, but you don't have to do it alone is the message. I'll pass it back to you, Mariah.
Yeah, such a funny video. Love it. The other thing I wanted to look at is how a little bit of advice or a little bit of changing the way you think can totally transform something, especially your business. So a small shift in perspective can change things and make it so much easier. So it always is great to get advice from experts. Want to just talk about a little bit of some of the things that the group has helped with in the past. One of our members, John's Cafe, went from being a $10,000 a week cafe to a 50% increase in 2 years. This is someone who grew up in hospitality, was always a part of it, but was very open to getting support and wanting to scale and wanting to grow. And together we managed to do just that. Same thing for Lisa in Thornton. So Lisa has a cafe in Thornton, made huge change there. 50% revenue increase in a year and 10% each year since for 4 years now. So really amazing what you can do with support. Oh, did that disappear for you guys?
Yeah, we see a nice gentleman.
Great. bit of a joke here, so don't worry, you all get through this coronavirus panic.
Not my screensaver.
I work in hospitality. With us, so with support, we feel like it's very different. Available incentives and support mechanisms so that we can get through this together. We're going to have a look at this with Tao.
All right. I'll keep that section fairly brief because I'm sure that everyone have access to the government announcement. At the end of the day, There's the major grants and incentives that you can apply through Service New South Wales. Some of you guys in Victoria might have access to similar grants through another app or direct to the government. So the grants and incentives that you can apply via Service New South Wales, you can just the next one of them will be the cash boost. Mariah, if you can take the next slide. Depends on the decline. Yeah, cash boost for businesses depends on the decline of your business. Whether you decline by 30, 50, or 70%, you can access different level of support. The mechanism or the criteria will be officially out there on the 19th for New South Wales, and that's whether your business impacted in Sydney area, hot zone, or outside of it, regional. So next one and the one after. This is pretty much a level. Been in touch with Service New South Wales on a daily basis just to see what the news are, but looks like Monday is the day that you can actually go in and apply. Charges rebates, this is something available now. You can just go in, again, Service New South Wales, they'll give you a rebate on different fees, which is $1,500. Again, every little bit counts. The big one that they announced this week is the disaster payment. Disaster payment, this is where it will really help you to, one of the challenges that we have is looking into our staff eyes and tell them you don't have work. So at least now you know that they're getting support from the government. They can do it right now. Going into this one is through Service Australia. This is not New South Wales. They go straight to Service Australia, and as long as they had reduction in hours, they can get supported, and you can, as their manager or as the owner, direct them to it, so they still feel supported and they're not too stressed these days. Other than that, well, come out here, it's what I mentioned before. When it comes, I don't have a slide for this here. Another grant that I saw is that they're offering support to landlords by removing some landlord tax if the landlord give you some sort of a discount. So again, we set a spread of emails to all of the landlords that within our network. Some of them were working with us, offering rebates. Some of them would just said, listen, hold on, you're gonna get support from the government. And in that case, you might just as well send back to them and says, you're gonna get that support, you're gonna get that discount. Why won't you give it to me and you claim it from the government to help? So they shouldn't be out of pocket on that one. So just bear that in mind. We have an attachment here of how to approach landlords as an initial letter. We can provide you more information on that as well, how to approach suppliers. Just feel free to reach out and we'll help you with that.
So those were templates to make things very easy for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a little bit elaborating on exactly what you get, depending on what you lose. And yeah, so now we are going to consult the experts. So you have the opportunity to ask our panel of experts questions that you have. Just wanting to check, are you guys able to write in the chat? Wanting to check whether that works. Testing, testing. Either way, we do have a bunch of questions, so we'll let you gather those, and the time being we'll have a look at the ones that have already come through. So the first question was, should I stay open? Boaz, what do you think?
Well, this will, there's no simple answer that fits all, but it will depend on where you are, the impact that your cafe has, and what you can do about it. So we know that obviously you are able to meet your obligations, or if there's only a slight reduction, then obviously you want to keep and retain your staff and retain your customers. When you got a significant amount of reduction in your turnover, what we did last time is we reduced in CBD areas which were impacted the most. We reduced the staff to skeleton staff, and because everybody else closed, it was a fantastic opportunity for us to gain new customers that didn't have a lot of options. So, and because we were open, they remembered it. So when the recovery came back, they still came back to us because people changed their habits, and we were there for them when things were tough, for both the landlord and for the customers. And again, we try and work with all the vested interests, anyway, from employees to customers to landlords, to make sure that we're trying to meet everybody's needs. Now, if you're open and nobody's coming, the place is completely shut down, then obviously maybe it's an opportunity to consolidate and look at some other options. Again, take home packs, deliveries, and stuff like that, and maybe you just come in, cook up, and deliver. So that's my take on that.
And so, are there cafes that are able to increase their sales and revenue at the moment? Like, are there cafes who've successfully done it during the crisis?
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
some of our cafes are doing take-home packs, so that they're using the food that they already have in purchased for the regular operation of the cafe, and they're basically doing a takeaway. They're offering delivery service, and again, that changes the dynamic. You might not need as many staff, but you can still generate the same amount of revenue. Tal, have you got some example?
I mean, it does require some change in operations. So if your business is predominantly takeaway, you might feel a bit of an influx because there's a lot of people that don't have a place to sit these days. They go and buy food in takeaway because it's sort of allowed. If you are a dine-in establishment and you start doing takeaway, again, people are really confined into a specific area. They might come to you. Just like Boaz mentioned with Thornton, they created another revenue, another stream of takeaway packs, home packs that wasn't there before, and that lasted even after they went back to dine-in. And the margins on takeaway, people coming in, you make food in bulk and send it away. It's better profit. So because you don't need to maintain dishes and all that for people that come to your establishment. So sometimes turnover can go down, but your profitability with the support that you get from it can go up, and you might as well be even more profitable.
Amazing. Do you have any figures for us? Any examples of that?
Oh,
I do. Yeah. So again, coming back to Lisa's was very proactive at the last lockdown, and again, she, by pivoting to take-home packs, they again, instead of doing sit down where they needed staff on the floor, she maintained a turnover about $15,000. But because she didn't need all the staff on the floor, wage cost dropped from about 3.5, 4 grand a week to about 2.5 and 3. So she was actually more profitable. And again, because she stayed open, because she was there for the community, the retention of customers was extremely high, and because other cafes decided to close, we won new business. So in terms of the number of retention, I don't have that figures, but again, profitability went up when the revenue stayed the same, and that was a very successful move for her. I believe John did very similar things in Musselbrook and had great success with basically people ordering on the phone and coming to pick up. So again, it's having the courage to just go and change and taking one step at a time as to how things evolve.
Wonderful. Yeah. Okay. So we have attached some free resources for you. We've got the landlord template that we've discussed. We'll also be sending over supplier ones, so make sure you subscribe to our emails. You can also follow us on Facebook or Instagram. We also have some more information on what we do as a group and how we're supporting the industry. We also have a filter, which was mentioned in our previous emails. It was sent out so for your social media posts to give it a really nice unified feel in just a click of a button. So keep an eye out for that. Subscribe to our mailing list. We're constantly sending out useful resources, marketing resources, tips, operational tips, all kinds of things. What are we doing to support each other? That's something we just want to touch on really quickly. We think it's really important to support each other in this time of need. When you do give, often, even if that's not the intention, it comes back, and we've seen that time and time again with our cafes. John, for example, has been very active in giving a lot within the community just giving to frontline workers all kinds of things, and he's just seen so much in return, which he absolutely was not expecting. So always lovely when you give and you get back. It's important that we all support each other during these times.
Absolutely.
We will be sending out. Yes.
It was interesting, Mariah. It's you know, it reminds me of basically about what you focus, you get. So if you're gonna focus on problems, you're gonna get problems, and if you focus on how you can help people and how you can support, you will get help and support. And that's what we do as a group, and that's what we do for each other. We make sure that our energy is elevated, that we're asking the right questions and focusing on the right things.
Absolutely. So keeping it short and concise, what is next? We have basically our next one will be about a roadmap to opening. So reopening and once lockdown is over, as well as all kinds of marketing things that you can be doing right now to really give your cafe that advantage and that boost for when the time is right, how to still get customers in and prepare for this huge opportunity, be more prepared than other cafes once we come out of this phase. So excited that you all joined us. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope that you got a lot out of this. If you have a few more minutes, we would still love to put out a poll, but we will also send that out via email. So keep an eye out for our upcoming resources and any other events that we have, and wish you all the best. Thank you, Boaz. Thank you, Tal and Priscilla.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mariah. Thank you, everyone.